389 Gaming.
Hey guys, it's Guy389 here, and we are now playing some Fire Emblem. I was playing a Fire Emblem themed build in my last Dark Souls video, and I decided that Fire Emblem is probably something I want to look into, because I've obviously played this game before. I hope you guys don't mind if I talk over the cutscene. It's just sort of explaining the backstory. If you want to pay attention to the cutscene, you can just, scroll back and ignore me talking and read through it. Or you can do both at the same time if you're capable of doing that. I know some people have difficulty with that, myself included. However, while I was playing Dark Souls, I was thinking, I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls recently, so I thought maybe I'd go into playing some Fire Emblem in anticipation of the new game that will be out, I believe in February in the United States. I think those of us in Europe will have to wait until April, I believe, early April. But this is, my favorite Fire Emblem game so far. I like this one particularly well because it offers you more in the way of customization than you get in most of the other Fire Emblem games. In Fire Emblem Awakening, the new game, they are going to be adding the ability to choose not only what class you promote to, but also allowing you to switch between classes and then retrain your characters. So it will be offering a lot of new possibilities for leveling up, maxing out your characters, and so forth. So right now the game is introducing us to the world of Magaville, I believe it's called. You guys can correct me if you read the name down there and I said it wrong. No, it was Magaville. It says right there. So Grotto, the largest country in the game world, is invading the other nations, and this is a typical way for a Fire Emblem game to start. Usually, your main character comes from a medium-sized country. It's not the smallest country, but it's also not the largest country. It's a medium-sized country, whereas the larger country is invading and being a douchebag. And there's Beast Mode Ephraim. You guys will figure out why I call him Beast Mode Ephraim later on. One thing you should know about Fire Emblem is that the storylines are usually pretty cliche. It's like big nation invading smaller nation, being a douchebag, and usually there's some kind of dark secret behind it that's caused the leader of that country to go mad, and then the prince or princess of said fallen country must rise against the evil and fight them off with a much, much, much smaller army of very well-endowed characters, considering they can, take on armies as just a small force of, like, 14 people. So now we're being introduced to Erica and Seth, the two original main characters, or not the original main characters, but the main characters that you start with. Seth is what Fire Emblem fans would call the Jigen character. That means he's the paladin character who is pre-promoted. He's already upgraded and leveled up, and his job is basically to protect you in the early game, so that if you get into a tight spot, you can just throw him at it and it'll solve itself. But you basically don't want to do that, because he, being leveled up, gets less experience than everyone else. And typically Jigen characters suck, and they have terrible growth, but Seth is alright. Seth turns out pretty well if you level him up. Now we're being introduced to one of the villains, Walter. We're gonna kill him later. Don't worry. Kill you later. So as you can see, the combat system in this game is pretty basic. You just move over to an enemy and attack them. There's no other options. There are no special moves. At least not in this game. There will be some degree of special moves in Fire Emblem Awakening. However, they will be automatic special moves and not the kind that you have to activate. So now we're actually going to get into the prologue fight. It's not much of a challenge. I'm actually going to end up... this is post-commentary if you haven't noticed. You probably haven't noticed because I haven't said anything, but it is post-commentary. In this fight, I'm actually going to take everything out with Erica without taking any damage, if I remember correctly. And I'm going to show you basically what you should do to use Seth efficiently in the early game, which is basically just throw down all of your weapons and use them as a meat shield. Because if he attacks anyone and kills them, then you will be using that XP inefficiently, which will be the topic for today's episode: how to use XP efficiently, or how to earn XP efficiently. In this game, lower level characters get more XP for a kill and for attacks than upgraded characters. And promoted units, which we'll get into later, get half as much. So once you've leveled up a character enough, you can promote them, and then you get then you get leveled back to level 1, but you don't lose your stats, and you become more powerful. Just checking out the buttons, figuring out what everything does. I want to turn the game speed and the animation up a little bit because, yeah, so that will make things faster. Game speed and text speed, I mean. The animations I'm not changing. Oh, I just noticed I forgot to change my menu color. I usually change it to blue. Yeah, I'm just demonstrating the movement system. This is an SRPG, so you move a certain number of moves, the enemy has a certain number of moves, and so forth. And what I did there is I just moved my character up and waited. And now I'm giving all of Seth's weapons to Erica. That ensures that he does not attack when enemies attack him. You would be thinking, well, that would render him defenseless. Well, the enemy can't hurt him. He's too high level for them to do any damage. And I'm just going to take these guys out one at a time. As you can see, the XP gain is relatively large, filling up my XP bar very quickly. In this game, you always level up at 100 XP, and the minimum XP you can gain is 1 XP, which means that you can at most use 100 attacks to level up. However, if I was to kill an enemy with Seth, for instance, then we would have a bit of an issue because he would gain like 10 XP from the enemy, whereas Erica gets a whole 40 and gets close to leveling up. But on the other end of this spectrum, when you're fighting against boss characters like this guy, you don't want to use too low a level character, because bosses give you not only do they give you the normal XP for killing them, and usually they're also promoted. This is actually an unsafe attack, but I'll explain that later, because I wouldn't be able to survive 2 attacks from him. But I had such a huge advantage over him that I figured, yeah, it's alright. I can just redo it if I die. Where was I? Oh yeah, if if I was fighting him, or say a late game boss with a level 1 character, the maximum amount of XP you can gain at one time is 100, which means I would be wasting XP, because a higher level character would actually be able to make better use of that XP. So, getting a little bit of dialogue. This game is dialogue heavy. If you haven't noticed it already, it's very story heavy and very dialogue heavy, and very character heavy as well. Some of the earlier Fire Emblem games did not have as much dialogue, but that was because they were on the NES. They didn't have enough space to have that much dialogue. And there we have Princess Tana. She will be a character that we get later on in the game. And it brings us to another of the game's cliches. Along with the main characters, who generally have very high stats, any characters of royal lineage who carry royal blood will usually have better statistics, or better stat growth than normal characters. So Tana is a Pegasus Knight, once we unlock her. And she will have significantly better growth than any other Pegasus Knights in the game, making her a very useful character to use later on, once you've leveled her up a little bit. But typically the best characters start out with the poorest stats, with the exception of the main characters, who start out with decent stats and have decent growth. However, there are some exceptions, like for instance Enos, later on in the game. He is also a prince, however he's also pre-promote, which means he starts out leveled up and promoted, but he does not get as much stats as he would have if he had started out not promoted, so to speak. He does, however, have good stat growth for a promoted character. So this is the actual first chapter of the game. Again, the game does not actually start getting hard until later on, but it does showcase a couple of the extra features, such as capturing the castle. We have to retake the castle that they just captured. I'm just going to take the silver lance back. This is a precaution in the event that I have to rescue someone. The enemy won't attack Seth, so... or at least they won't unless they have no other options. The enemy AI in this game is extremely simple, with the exception of boss characters that sometimes don't move. Most characters will just attack whatever's within their range, and then they'll choose the best target based on a simple algorithm. They'll attack enemies who have a weapon that they are strong against. Swords are strong against axes, axes are strong against lances, lances are strong against swords. So if an axe wielder has a lance user in range, then they will attack that lance user. Otherwise, they'll attack enemies that can't attack back, such as healers, or enemies that they can deal a significant amount of damage to, like low-level characters. Just showing off France and Gilliam here. Gilliam is a knight. That means that he is an armored unit. He has a decent amount of HP and a lot of defense. That makes him a really good wall early in the game. He's also useful throughout the entire game, and as you can see, using the XP benefit, Gilliam is higher level than France, so I'm taking the kill with France. Gilliam will still get the full 10 XP from an attack, but France will get the extra bonus XP from the kill that Gilliam will not get as much of. As you can see there, he had the option to attack the lower level sword user, and he would have been able to do more damage, but he chose to attack the lance user because axes are strong against lances. And the AI is stupid. So in this spot I was thinking, yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to effectively gain XP from this, but then I realized the lance user is going to go and attack one of the sword users, so it doesn't really matter. And he goes after Erica, gets a hit on her, and finished. We're going to swap out that rapier as soon as possible, because the rapier is a rare weapon that you can only get a limited number of in the game. And weapons wear out over time. Armor does not, but you don't have any armor in the game. You just have a defense stat that is specific to your character. So Franz here is going to deal the finishing blow. I want to get him up a couple levels. Another typical sign that a character is going to be good is if they're very young. So for instance, Franz here is actually about the same age as the children characters that we are going to meet later on in the game. Which means he is bound to have significant stat growth over time. And there we have our first ambush, enemies appearing back into the map after the game has already started. And I'm going to deal with this the way I usually deal with these kind of things. I'm going to put Gilliam up front in a second. Just going to measure the distance there. And measure it again because I forgot where to move him. And there we go. Put Gilliam up there. Later on in the game I'm going to have to be more careful in where I put characters, because sometimes if there are a lot of characters on the map, you won't always know where everyone is. And this game does not yet have the feature where you can see what areas enemies can attack in general. And even then, some characters have more than one weapon on them. So if they're holding a melee range axe, and they have a throwing axe as a secondary, you can't see that they have range of the throwing axe. So you don't actually know where they're going to be able to hit you from. France is a cavalier, and cavaliers start off with both swords and lances. That means that I can effectively use him against multiple types of enemies. Later on in the game, we'll unlock usually 2 weapons for every character. However, that does not apply to the Lord characters in this game, who will only have access to swords and lances respectively. Erica, swords, and Ephraim, lances. Oops, got hurt there. And finished. I was getting a little bit more kills with Erica than I had intended to. I was hoping to maybe use France a little bit more in this round, because I want him leveled up to a decent level as early as possible. Because he's one of the best characters in the game in general. It makes sense to put a little bit of effort into getting him up a few levels. Used a quick healing item there. Realized that I accidentally put her within range of that guy. And finished him with 10. Free kill for France. And it will also show, like I said, that the boss does not move. Because all of my characters are now, well, except for Erica, are all well within range of that knight. However, he won't move, because he is a boss character and he is standing on a defended area, or a defended spot, fortified spot. Castles, fortresses, and so forth all provide a defense, and well, actually not all of them provide a defense boost, but all of them provide an evasion boost. Even houses provide some evasion boost. And I got lucky there and finished him off one round. And as you can see, I utilized as much of the XP as possible by not using France. If I had found a way to finish him off with France, then it would have wasted some XP, because it would have been more than 100, I think. Might not have been, though, so I'm not sure. More dialogue. And we're actually about to wrap up this episode. I believe we just have a few more minutes of dialogue. So going forth in the next episode, I believe we are going to be taking a look at terrain advantages, which I will be using a little bit more of in the next match, and the weapon triangle. There is also a magic triangle, not just a weapon triangle, but we don't have any mages yet, so it's a little difficult for me to show that to you guys henceforth. Or up until now, I guess. Oh no, the king died. That's sad. That was an extremely blunt way to tell someone that their father just died. It's just, yes, I have received word of your father. Yeah, he's dead. That's a little blunt. It's like, no, you should sit down for this or anything. It's not, I'm sorry to say that he's dead or that he's passed and something like that. It's just, you know, he did not make it. This plan is suicide. Well, it's not. I make it back alive, don't I? Don't I? Sorry for sort of passing out there, I was just reading the dialogue a little bit. So the next episode we will be going to episode 2, and we will be meeting the first of the children characters. While I have a few minutes left, I should mention, I actually think I've already mentioned it, but younger characters tend to have better stat growths than older characters. So if you have, which we'll see in the next episode, where you have, you know, a father and a son, the son is going to have significantly better stats than the father eventually. What's gone wrong with the world? I don't know. I'm just playing a game here, guys. Don't ask me stupid questions.